shall be comforted. That's really unique when you think about it. He says, you're blessed when you mourn, for you shall be comforted. So
It's
the
a
comfort
promise.
of,
It's a promise.
It's a promise. So the comfort of God, I mean, it's almost like he's saying it's worth mourning just to experience God's comfort. And then the comfort that he comforts you with, you can then use that same experience to go and comfort other people that are hurting.
Yeah.
So God really does work something good out of everything if we'll believe that and let it happen. And, you know, Jesus, when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he had a rough time. I mean, 3 times he went away and prayed that God would remove the cup from him. So I think it's safe to say he really, really did not want to go to the cross. But he always followed it up with, if possible, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, your will be done and not mine. And we don't understand when people die. We don't understand when a young person gets sick and dies. But this is where that unquestioning trust comes in, that we just know in part, we don't understand everything, and that I just want to encourage anybody that's watching today that is grieving to ask God to comfort you. Because he wants to do that. And I don't know how he goes about it, but God is the one that can get on the inside of you and make things happen that nobody else can happen.
Can I share one funny story?
Sure.
Through this whole terrible process, we were sitting around the hospital bed at this time when we were, Mark was on a ventilator and they were going to take him off, and they didn't know what would happen, but they said quite often, and as bad as he was, he would go to be with the Lord right away. And when they took him off the ventilator, he didn't. And we had some wonderful time with him through those last hours that I'm so grateful for that we had. But, and he would kind of get bad again, and there would be goodbyes, and then he'd rally again. And then we'd have more time that we'd laugh together. But we were all sitting around at one point, and my nephew, who's so wonderful, but he just said to his dad, he said, you know, I feel like I've been a little bit deceived because I thought you were going to, go somewhere, and you're still here. And we all just laughed so hard because there is even joy in mourning, that terrible process of saying goodbye and then having more moments together, but being able to laugh about something like that. It's just, I'm grateful for the way God gives us glimpses of laughter when we don't expect it. So, Joyce, one of the things I want to get so practical about, you're talking about choosing joy, and I think about that too, that I can only choose it because it was such a gift that God gave me. And so not to continue to choose it is such a waste of what God did for us. But you talk about 3 of the things that we can do today to increase our joy, no matter how hard of a time we're going through. And I think they're so great. The one is spending time with God, just knowing who he is. One is spending time in his word, understanding what his word says. And one is spending time with people who help you grow. Doing those 3 things today. Why are those so important, and how do they benefit us?
Well, we can waste our time, we can spend it foolishly, or we can invest it. And we all get the same amount of time, 24 hours a day. Some live longer than others, but we always say, well, I spend so much time doing this, and I spend so much time doing that. And that's the truth. You're spending your time. But are you spending it on something that's going to bring a benefit to you or to somebody else? Or are you just wasting it, investing it, or wasting it? So any time that we spend time with God, it's an investment. It's always going to come back to you multiplied many times over. And that's one of the big facets of joy, is just in his presence is fullness of joy. So just being with him brings joy.
Yeah.
And then being in the Word. I mean, the Word is powerful.
It is.
You know, I love just sitting and just talking about the Word like this. I was thinking when you were talking about your brother-in-law's last few hours, I thought how blessed he was to have so many people around him that loved him. Do you know how many people die and have nobody with them
Yeah.
at all? They're totally
Yeah.
alone. And so just to have people who care about you is a blessing. You like you said, you had people that checked on you every day or people that cried with you. And there's so many things we take for granted, but not everybody has that.
Mm-hmm.
And then spending time with the right kind of people. Boy, when you're hurting, you can shoot yourself in the foot or you can help yourself because we can choose who we're around. You know, you may have to be around somebody that annoys you for a certain period of time, but you can get away from them and go get around somebody else that's going to make you happy.
Yeah.
And I want to be around people that are going to add a smile on my face. I love to be with funny people. And I tell you, since Dave and I have gotten a little bit older, you know, I said a little bit. We
Just a touch.
both have a little hearing issue now. And we have more fun with that. I mean, we laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. Because we have so many things that happen. Like the other day, my daughter, her son's a police officer, and so she went to a program for something called Backstoppers. And it's people who give to help the widows of fallen officers. And Dave said, "You went to a conference on backstabbers?"
The Backstabbers Conference.
The backstabbers.
More about fell on the floor. She was laughing so hard. And so I think we do need to take every opportunity we can to laugh and to be around people that will make us laugh. And the more negative things that seem to happen to you, the more you need to spend in the positive things that the Word of God has to say. And God has just done so much for us. I mean, it's just like all the stuff I went through as a kid. It's like that was somebody I knew a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it doesn't relate to me anymore.
Yeah.
You know, how can God heal you to the point where you don't even remember it or even thank God for it because of how it made you mature and helped you grow?
Good.
So when we're going through really horrible times, it's so good to remember, now I can use this
Yeah. Or
to help somebody
waste it.
else.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can make somebody else's life better, like that. When you're blessed when you're mourning,
Yeah.
because you'll be comforted, and then
Yeah.
you can take that same comfort with which God comforts you and comfort somebody else. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a lot of things happen to me in my life, but I've never lost anybody to death that I was really, really, really close to.
Yeah.
So naturally, Ginger could relate to somebody better in a situation like that. She wasn't abused as a child. I was, so I could really relate to that person. We can all relate to anybody that's hurting because God is in us. But God will use the hard things
Yeah.
that you go through, and He'll use them to help somebody else.
Yeah. And so
If you let him.
it's clear that you've had times when you weren't happy because then that are joyful. You know, I'm not lazy. A little bit I am, but no. but
Well, when you get such a good outline, I mean-
but here's the thing: like, it's just helpful. It's helpful to have like so. That's why I was looking over here, like which scripture would I say? But you know, it's just so many scriptures about joy and about Christ's suffering and about us. You know, like
What He went through.
What He went through.
It's
Yeah,
nothing compared to what we go through.
exactly. So it's just. It's helpful.
And you
And
know,
it's
the truth
helpful.
is sometimes when people get in what we'll call a pit for right now, just a pit of misery and
We just talked about that pit.
Yeah, we did.
sadness, I mean, we can actually get into enjoying our misery and feeling sorry for ourselves because we're so
Yeah.
miserable. But there are answers for every problem that we have.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the greatest things that we can do is every single day look for, and after stress, look for things that you can be thankful for.
Yeah.
As a mom of small children, it is easy to let even just like little things during the day steal my joy. and things happen that are just annoying, and kids cry and want things and stuff. And so it's easy as a mom, and I'm sure other moms relate to me, to let those little things steal your joy. But I have tried to be so aware of the fun moments, like you're saying. Like the other day we played charades, and Peyton is ridiculous, and she wanted to be a rainbow, and they're just funny. So I found myself laughing hysterically, like you were saying. And I thought, this is what I should do with my children. I need to be so aware of the really fun moments we're having. And some of it's hard. And some of it is discouraging. But in the midst of all of that are some really sweet moments that I don't need to worry about all the other stuff.
Well, I want to give you some really, really, really good news.
What?
They will grow up,
Will they? Good. It's good news.
and they'll go live somewhere else.
Even better news. Even better news. Just this morning, we had Caden, who's 7, take a test to see if he could get into a gifted program. It was recommended by his teacher. Well, I got the results today that he didn't make it. And he's been asking for weeks, like, did I get it? Do I get to go? Do I get to go? And so I had to tell him this morning, no, you don't. And this is our first rejection. He's 7. He's never been rejected from anything. And so to tell him, this will make me cry. Daddy and I are proud of you, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. And to see his face process that and then go back to, okay, well, let's go to school and see my friends. I want to be like that.
Yeah.
Where he sat in his pain for a second, and then he remembered all the other great things he gets to do today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the parenting piece is like sometimes it's hard. It's harder for me to remain joyful when I see my kid hurting.
Sure.
Oh, that's the worst.
than me.
Yeah.
You know, like that. Like I just get because I feel helpless. I feel like I don't know what to do to help her. You know, and especially now with mine, she'll be 19 soon, and so at that age where she's technically an adult, but she's still a kid and.
Yeah, who made up that age anyway?
I don't like it.
How'd that happen?
That's 18, 19, that's hard because it's like still a kid, but you want to respect them as an adult to an extent and in the house, but not really in the house. And now she's in 2 different spaces and 2 different states. When she goes to us, it's like, it's hard. And so the hardest thing has been to remain joyful about my kid. Like, because it's not, I don't get to see her do rainbows. I don't get to, you know, and giving her the space she needs to be an adult and make her own decisions on where she wants to live and if she wants to go to college or not, or what she wants to do with her life. It's like, ooh, when you're used to making those decisions, like it's, and not being able to see that resolve of that happy, because she's processing, that's hard. And so I need that because it's hard. Like, I find myself being at times more sad about my kid. Like, it makes me emotional. Like, I feel I'm more sad about my kid being sad than even myself.
Sure.
Like, it's hard. So, I need that more for her.
Any parents, you'd rather be sick yourself than to see your kid be sick.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, when I used to have to punish my kids, I would have much rather punished myself.
Yeah.
I didn't want to take something away from them. But
And our joy as a parent does not come from being a perfect parent or having perfect children.
Yeah.
You know, our joy comes in the potential that God has put in them and what He can do in their life and what He's doing in our life through them. I learned so much through my kids, and even through some of the really hard times that I wouldn't have wanted to happen the way that they did. I learned so much, and God was always in the midst of those times. And like you're saying, they can be really hard, trying times as a mom.
Yeah.
But now looking back, and even, you know, with the joy of having grandchildren now, you do see the way God was working that you didn't always see in the midst of it.
Right.
Yeah.
I see like, oh, God was putting that in her then. And now this is how He's using it. I mean, things like that amaze me, and I'm so grateful for that. God brings joy up in those things. Like, I love the book of James, but I do not like the scripture that says, count it all joy. You know, it's like, count it all joy, my brothers, When you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And boy, is it hard to count it joy when you're in the middle of growing.
The Amplified Bible
that
says count it
steadfastness.
joy because your trials bring out patience. And I said they brought a lot of things out of me before we ever got around to patience.
Oh, yeah.
Like what?
It took us a while to get there.
So, when you hear count it all joy, you're just like, I don't think so. I don't always think so.
But here again, I really feel it's good to say that joy is not some kind of
Right.
It can be that just contentment, that quiet contentment. And we talk about
Yeah.
kids. It's so important for parents to know that, Ginger's had this experience I have, but I have 4 grown children. And I tell you, when they were not grown and I was raising them, sometimes I didn't even hardly have a thimble full of hope for each one of them. I had kids that it was just like, I was so happy when they got out of school, I could hardly stand it. And now, our one boy that just hated school so bad and had such a hard time in school, he now is the CEO of all the operations side of the ministry and over all the media. And my other son that, oh my gosh, we could not get along. We just had such a hard time getting along. And he's the CEO of all of our missions outworks, and we've got hundreds and hundreds of things going on around the world, and he's been involved in starting every single one of them. And my one daughter, who couldn't find her socks if she took them off, she was so sloppy. And now she takes care of me. And so they will come around. And that's what you need to remember when you're going through those tough times. It's not over till it's over, and it's not over yet.
One more thing just to bring up as we're closing, because I thought this was such a great suggestion. You talked about one of the great ways to bring up that joy in our lives and to help maintain it. Because I believe, and I know you do too, we have to fight for our joy.
Right.
Yeah.
God gives it to us as a gift, but we have to cultivate it.
And the devil does not want you to have it.
No, he does not. So one of the things that you suggest is to simplify, to keep things from getting overcomplicated and overwhelming. Any ways that you guys do that, or why you see that is so important?
I think sometimes, for me, just the way I think about things can either be complicated or it can be simple. How simple is it to say, I believe God will take care of this?
Yeah.
Than to get all negative and try to figure it out yourself and go tell 25 people how horrible things are for you. It's just so simple to say, I believe that God will take care of this. I don't know what he's going to do or when he's going to do it, but I trust. Just makes everything so simple.
Yeah.
Just trusting God. And whether it's a situation you've come through or what I went through as a child or what any of us have gone through, it all comes back to, are you going to trust God or are you not going to trust God? And I want to add to all this before we close. I believe that one of the greatest ways that you can increase joy in your own life is to bring joy to someone else's life. The more, if you can make somebody else happy every day, you will find yourself very seldom being unhappy yourself.
Yeah, that's good. One of my simple ways is now understanding that what you said earlier, Joyce, and you said you can either basically waste whatever you're going through, or you can use it to help others. And this has actually helped me push out of that too. I've always been a person that was like, this isn't just for me. Whatever I've gone through in all of my life, I'm like, it's not just for me. But this was probably the hardest thing. Like going through that divorce was like one of the hardest things that I've ever gone through in my adult life. And sharing it with other people and help, asking God, I don't get this, being so honest and transparent, even when I didn't really believe that I could be joyful or didn't know that God was working it out, just being honest with the people that I love and that love me and would push me towards God, like just being honest. And then also saying, God, you're not going to waste this. Like, even in my moments of like unbelief, like you're not going to waste it. And I know you're going to bring me back full circle.
Yeah.
And just that authentic place, not trying to overthink it or fake it or over Christianize it, and just be authentic, because I was a robot before where
Because God really does care about everything we go through.
Yeah.
And he will, especially if you ask him, he will use everything
Yeah.
that you go through, things that you couldn't even imagine how he could use it for anybody's good. He'll take it and use it. And I actually really believe that God does work all things out for good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those who love him and are called according to his purpose.
Absolutely.
And I don't always understand how he does it, but I do believe that he does it.
It is a decision. And the reason I didn't want to talk about this topic today is not because I don't feel that joy in a way that doesn't make sense sometimes. It's because I didn't want to be emotional through it. I just, I want to be vulnerable and I want to be myself, but I want to have words that make sense. And sometimes that is difficult, but sometimes this is the face of joy,
Yeah.
Sometimes those tears are in the midst.
And it's good for other people.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
People don't
Yeah.
have to be giggling and laughing out loud all the time. I think even in the midst of those tears, you can have that calm delight where,
Yeah.
this